Hi, my name is Lars Wienicke. I'm an engineer and the head of the digital research infrastructure at the Luxembourg Center for Contemporary and Digital History. As this clip is about source criticism, I would like to give you a short glimpse of what you encounter when you apply this principle to the online representation of Boder's work. Source criticism is about questioning the origin and authenticity of a historical source. Now let's look at an example. Here I have an LP of a classic album from Lou Reed. We can look at its artifactual qualities. What form does it have? The LP is round, the cover is square. What is it made of? The LP is made of vinyl, the cover is made of cardboard. But we can also look at its informational qualities, what it says about a particular topic. The lyrics are inspired by underground subcultures of the early 70s in Berlin. When considering the website with Boder's interviews as a historical source, the information value is obvious. It conveys experiences of people who endured and survived Nazi concentration camps. But what about the materiality of the website? Clearly, every piece of text and all audio on the website consists of digits, as does the website itself. But if you're really serious about source criticism, stating that everything is made out of digits does not suffice. As an explanation, we are left with a lot of questions. How do all these digits relate to the original recording on steel wire? What has changed or what has been left out in the transformation from analog source to digital? How does the process of sending and receiving bits of information to the web look like? And how is it turned into sound, text, images that we can perceive through our own eyes? Asking these questions when considering the making of Voices of Holocaust is a complicated matter that involves the history of web technology. In fact, what is published on the website now is a remake of what was initially published in 2000. Some parts have remained the same, some parts have changed. As historians, you can ask yourself, does it matter? Well, here at the C2DH, we think it does. Historians should continue to do what they've always done with archival materials: question the origin and authenticity of online resources. So let's see how things started in 2000 when the first website was launched. First, we can have a look at its appearance. We call this the interface, to be distinguished from the other parts of the system, everything that goes on behind your screen. We have access to these images thanks to the Internet Archive, an organization that archives websites by taking snapshots several times a year and storing them just as a traditional paper archive would do. When comparing the homepage from 2000 to that of 2009, it is clear that the newer website, the layout has changed and photos become more prominent. In 2009, communication systems were faster and more powerful. ADSL brought broadband access to the home, so you no longer had to wait minutes for a photo to appear on a webpage, but merely seconds. This page with the list of interviews in 2000 looks like an Excel sheet. In the 2009 overview, the page looks more sophisticated, which brings us to the conclusion that while the content of the source has remained the same, its appearance and the way we perceive it has changed. For the first website in 2000, the curators from the Illinois Institute of Technology digitized and put online the following materials: 15 of the most audible recordings that have been converted from magnetic tape to digital audio tape, 73 transcripts reproduced with a mimeograph on paper that had to be retyped manually in a text editor. Optical character recognition, the technology to transform images into text, has been around since the 1940s, and even though it has progressed a lot since the 2000s, it still struggles with some types of sources like mimeographs. Now, I want to give you an idea of what goes on behind the screen. The technology that was used in 2000 to create these web pages was ASP, or Active Server Pages, a scripting language developed by Microsoft to instruct the server how to dynamically create web pages. A book can be compared to a sound recording. The sound is there and the printed letters are there, but we only need our eyes to read, whereas we need a device and electricity to listen to a recording. We can say the same about web pages. They are either static in the sense that the content is already defined, or they are dynamic, meaning that the content is generated on the fly. Think of this. You go to the baker and ask him for a cake. If it's a static page, he would grab the cake and give it to you. If it's a dynamic page, he would look up the recipe, get the ingredients, prepare the cake, and then give it to you. For this to take place, we not only need a device and electricity, but a whole system to be able to read, view, or listen. In 2009, web technology had advanced significantly. The plug-in Flash player had been introduced, allowing to embed sound and moving images into websites. This enriched the capacity of the web, motivating users to digitize audiovisual data and to publish it online. For the collection of Boder, this meant that audio and text could be read and listened to simultaneously. The introduction of Unicode Transformation Format 8, a protocol on how to represent characters in digits, simplified the publication of transcripts in non-Latin alphabets. For the collection of Boder, this meant that original transcripts could now be published in Russian. But the most visible change to the website launched in 2009 was the amount of content. The ITT committed itself to restore and digitize all the 121 recordings together with their corresponding transcripts, both in English and their original language. There were, however, also changes made in the materiality of the source, the arrangement of the digits that are not visible on your screen. What changed in 2009 is that the digits of the audio and the text were wrapped in a descriptive language called XML that describes what the data consists of, who the speaker is, what the language is that is spoken, which transcript belongs to which interview. This is done to structure the data and make it interpretable by machines. On the left, you can see a small snippet of the transcript of Yanis B, as it looks on your screen. On the right, you see how each line has specific codes that structure the document according to a certain scheme. But besides labeling what the data is, you also need software to send, receive, store, and display web content. Around that time, the initial software to generate web pages, ASP, introduced by Microsoft, could be replaced by an open source alternative, PHP. This has gained enormous traction in the early 2000s. This screenshot just gives you an idea of how PHP code looks like. This is a programming language that defines what should be done. You can think of it as the recipe to assemble the page. The ingredients are stored in a different computer language, XML, which is a descriptive language that describes the structure of the document. If you're wondering why I'm showing you pages of code that might look strange to people who are not familiar with computer languages, then think of how important it is when applying source criticism to a book to know which edition it is. While the text of the book has remained the same, the printing technique of the book may have changed. We don't expect a historian interested in Shakespeare's drama to be able to handle a printing technology from the 16th century, but we do want him or her to be conscious of the fact that a change in technology might affect the appearance and interpretation of a historical source. In a way, the best metaphor to explain the materiality of Boder's online presentation is that of a layered cake. Each layer has a specific function. There's the content as it is displayed on the screen, the text, the audio, and the images, which are ultimately digits. Then there is a layer that indicates the structure of the data. And then there are layers of software to interact, which means translating, sending, receiving, displaying, and storing web content. Well, I have discussed a couple of aspects that I deem important for applying source criticism to online resources. The question of whether a website contains authentic historical sources is a complicated one, and I leave that one up to you. If this is all too overwhelming for you, forget about the names and the appearance of the software. But remember the layered cake. The ingredients change over time while the appearance remains the same. The big question is, does it taste the same?